This is Tanakh. Don't read it backwards. Kicked out of hell for being too annoying, this little gremlin is hated by every single other race, which makes sense because his innate skill, similar to me after a big night out, is blowing up furniture and smearing his shit on the walls. Tanakh has almost no defensive capabilities. Please don't kill me, please don't kill me, please don't. He's incredibly weak offensively. And much like myself in any social situation, he has -2 intellect, -3 constitution, and -3 to charisma. Fellas, if your dog just died, you better believe Tanakh is going to make a joke out of it. Feeling a sort of kinship with this little gremlin, today our goal is to somehow traverse 35 floors of monster-infested mines, ruins, and what can only be described as my personal Vietnam, to kill God, overthrow the government, and crown Tanakh king of the gremlins. But to do that, first, we have to learn to read. No, seriously. You see, with my low intelligence and perception, I won't know what anything I actually find is. This means the food I eat could be rotten, the potions could be poison, and of course, the gear will be cursed. You see, much like using a Chinese finger trap as a personal pleasure device, once you equip cursed gear, it's impossible to take off, which will lead to your almost certain death. This means our goal on the first floor, other than using our flail to grind up rats for meat and bash skeletons for fun, is to find a single piece of moldy cheese. And while I won't fully understand that moldy cheese at first, I plan to. Intimately. At the very least, it will help me start to comprehend the world and eventually find better gear. This plan goes smoothly, dodging boulders that one hit even the strongest adventurer. We creep around like an incel at prom, trying to avoid direct contact with the cool kids before we snap and murder them with our homemade flail. While doing this, however, we learn our new mechanics, specifically our Deface spell, a sapper ability that allows us to destroy certain indestructible objects, and once we've destroyed enough, our cortisol levels spike like a prepubescent boy walking past a Victoria's Secret at the mall, giving us the ability to run faster and punch holes in the drywall more efficiently. This leads us down a dark path, however, as we smash an antique vase, a green slime appears ready to do unspeakable things to us. Being incredibly resistant to blunt weapons, this is where we employ our new tactic. Running. Using one of the most annoying weapons we have, bowlers, to snare it, we have a chance to escape, before snuffing our torch, waiting for it to fall asleep, sneaking back in, and murdering it. At this point, I've spent far too long on the first floor, and I'm beginning to starve. We start chowing down on some fresh but raw rat meat, and while doing that, find a pair of blessed glasses that give +3 perception. This allows us to identify a spell book. Turns out we aren't dumb, but just nearsighted. These books are how we will learn new spells, which are crucial to our long-term survival. This particular book teaches us the ability to self-immolate and spread that to everyone around us, even through gates. Thankfully, there is a small room filled with giant carnivorous spiders nearby to test this, or as I call them, free XP. I'm gonna be real, this first floor has set me up pretty well. I think I'm gonna go really far on this first run. With a skip in our step, we head to floor 2, which resets our cortisol stacks. Addicted to this high, I immediately go deface someone's grave and watch helplessly as a ghoul spawns, hitting me twice for 2/3 of my health and chasing me into a skeleton where I'm unceremoniously Eiffel Towered. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Barony, spending 30 minutes on the first floor only to die to a rotting corpse on the second. Run 2 starts out much like Run 1, using our bowlers to snare enemies and our flail's superior range to take them down from afar. Not learning from my mistakes, I deface a grave and piss in a holy fountain only to be attacked by a succubus. With no way to survive, I snare them and run, and on just one hit, thankfully a man named Guy sees us sprint past bleeding to death. He starts yelling racial slurs at me, and we chug one of my 3 polymorph potions I'm given at the start of the game, so I appear human. I convince him to join me and immediately force him to fight the succubus, which goes surprisingly well. The rest of the floor goes smoothly with our new friend as we move on to floor 2, where we immediately run into Funny Bones, a rare skeleton who will easily one-hit us with his massive meaty red axe. Thankfully, Guy, our unwitting meat shield, is a bit more tanky than me, allowing us to focus on back shots and take him down. This makes Guy overconfident. He charges directly at a troll and is crushed into a smooth red paste. I spend nearly 15 whole minutes carefully kiting the troll around corners with hit-and-run tactics until it dies from a traumatic brain injury, which makes me overconfident. I could kill a ghoul at this point. I'm sure it's fine. Oh, that's not a ghoul! That's not a ghoul! Where is it? It's there. No! Alright, lesson learned. Let's be more careful when we deface things. Run 3 starts strong. We recruit a human named Bjorn, mostly because the faceplate they're wearing gives +5 melee damage, and when they inevitably die due to mysterious circumstances, I plan to take it from them. But for now, he should be able to help me take down anything dangerous. Oh shit, oh shit. Okay, where is it? Where is it? Get him, Bjorn! Yes! Oh, we can totally do this. I clearly don't learn from my mistakes. Run 4! Well, I guess I'll just try block, and we don't talk about run 4. Thankfully, run 5, we begin to take massive strides. It starts like any other run, catfishing a man named Ned into joining us, watching him die to a spider near immediately before heading to floor 2, where we face our first Minotaur event. What's a Minotaur event? Glad you asked. Imagine you're walking. Wait, 60% American. Okay, let me try again. Imagine you're driving to work each day, big gulp in one hand, phone in the other. As you turn onto the next street, a flashing sign appears, warning you that an 8-foot tall furry wearing a leather jockstrap and a cow head is about to chase down your car bar and crush it between his thighs. This is the Minotaur. Rather than wait around, we beeline for the only exit we can find, but sadly, this exit leads to a secret floor known as the Gnomish Mines. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the Gnomish Mines are best described as going to Vietnam in the 1960s. A bad idea. Thankfully, a man who looks exactly like Ned and is even called Ned begins yelling more racial slurs at me. Either these guys were brothers or Ned faked his own death. I quickly use a second polymorph to catfish him and take him with me to hell. No sooner than as we enter the mines, we hear the horrifying sound of a door opening and turn to see Ned explode into tiny pieces. We barely manage to survive the barrage of lightning bolts to take down a single gnome, making it clear there is no way we're surviving the few hundred little monsters creeping around these dark halls. We move on in search of safer floors, but sadly, he's back. We fight our way through floor 4 quickly, but thanks to the ever-looming threat of the cow's thighs, we're forced to hurry to the next and far scarier floor in the swamp. Much like Florida, this hellscape is filled with poisonous slimes, spiders, and sickly crack addicts who will do anything to take your wallet. At this point, we're horrifically underleveled and underprepared. I begin experimenting with my other class item, the frying pan, and turn the last of my rotting food into barely edible rations. This is a win, until I accidentally turn those rations into inedible grease balls. But thankfully, the swamp is heavily populated by goblins, the one race that will tolerate my existence and not murder me on sight. This small act of goodwill and mercy gives me breathing room, until I accidentally eat a piece of spoiled rations, which forces me to begin immediately convulsing and throwing up on the floor. Panicked, I eat another, hoping to settle my stomach, but sadly, this just begins a feedback loop of vomiting over and over as I shovel rotten meat into my mouth, and writhe around on the ground vomiting and shitting all over myself. Still panicking, I quickly throw on a chef's hat, which gives me slow digestion and does absolutely nothing to help in this situation, and before I know it, a slime sneaks up behind me and King hits me. Undeterred, however, and having seen a glimpse of hope on this run, we jump back in for run 6. We don't talk about run 6. At this point, I've spent hours on this challenge and have absolutely nothing to show for it. But at our darkest moment is when we need to remember our true purpose. Yes, we want to become king. But first, what is a king if they simply don't learn to read? I take a moment to read through my spells and realize this entire time I've been neglecting two major mechanics of my class: smearing my shit and blowing up furniture. You see, grease balls are actually overpowered, causing enemies to become slippery, suffer more knockback, and even drop their weapons. The other is booby traps. Sorry. This is the ability to plant bombs inside small furniture that explode, sending the shrapnel into unwitting bystanders. By themselves, both of these are just okay, but when combined, they light those same bystanders on fire. Using these advanced and totally not intended mechanics, shut the fuck up, we breeze through the first 5 floors, joined by our close friend and potential lover, Garrick. We crush multiple elites, find rare gems, and as we enter the swamps, we equip ourselves with a ring of warning, something that allows us to see enemies on our map, and feeling incredibly confident, we stride out into the swamp, getting to look at our map, and we're immediately jumped by not 1, not 2, not 3, and not 5, but 4 slimes who dissolve Garrick in front of me. Garrick, no! Barely surviving the first encounter, all of my confidence is lost. Okay, I have to take this very slowly. I'll watch out for enemies, I'll watch out for arrows. Are you fucking kidding me? Despite being fairly well prepared, the swamps are absolutely punishing us, forcing us to initiate Operation Backshots. Channeling our inner gremlin, I begin yelling insults at my enemies, forcing them to chase me until I round a corner into a pack of goblins, giving me a chance to hit them over the back of the head from behind. This strategy is working perfectly until I stumble across a rare elite goblin camp. At the back of this small trapped puzzle room is a rare treasure chest, but sadly the goblins are blocking my path. I lead a slime in to trigger them to move, and then quickly hurry down a corridor hoping to find treasure. Instead, I find a large hairy man, which is treasure to some, but not to me. Not realizing the goblins had easily dealt with the slime and then decided to prank me by blocking my exit, I attack the man. Oh, no, move, no. Oh, we're okay. Thankfully, the large hairy man is not just large and hairy, but he's also blind. However, I'm now left with 2 choices. Attack the goblin blocking me, triggering the entire pack of rare high-level elites to descend upon me like a 60-inch TV on Black Friday, or attack the troll and be turned into red paste by his meaty hands. Honestly, both are quite tempting, but recently I learned about the demon core, which inspired me to choose option 3, weapons of mass destruction. Having collected 2 of these earlier, I placed them down in front of me. This poor creature unwittingly stumbles forward, ready to crush me, only to step directly into one of the most overpowered items in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, the bear trap. With the troll gone, I make my way deeper in search of treasure, and once I find it, thanks to my ring of warning, I know that this chest right here is actually a mimic, a terrifying and tanky enemy whose attacks strip away your very clothing and equipment as it murders you. Employing my bear traps again and using booby trap to trigger the creature, it's almost unfair. But after all this work, we're rewarded with a piece of moldy bread and a potion that heals 5 HP. Thank you, Barony. But to make matters worse, before we can make it to the next floor, our bear traps break fighting a different mimic. Thank you, Barony. As we enter the next floor, we see a pack of ghouls ravishing a human. Yes, Yes, ravishing. I'm tempted to transform and jump into the mix, but I'm very aware that the goblins on this floor won't take kindly to a human appearance. So instead I wait for them to die, loot their magic reflection cape, and then throw a tin opener on a pressure plate that triggers half a dozen boulders to chase me down. This allows us to enter the next secret stage, the Jungle Temple. For any other race, this might be a scary place. It's packed full of dozens of trolls and even more goblins than you can count, all of which are hiding, waiting for you to stumble deep into the temple before they jump out and begin wailing on you. But not for Tanakh. I make my way deep into the temple, trigger the gates to open, and begin leading the trolls directly into the goblins. While distracted, I sneak inside, steal their keys, and don't pick up this rare bow. Why? Because at this point, I didn't understand how truly overpowered this weapon was going to be. In my defense, it's only just been added to the game, and I'm an idiot. Continuing Operation Backshots, we make short work of the trolls and begin sorting through our loot. I realize I picked up a very powerful necklace, but sadly, due to my lack of intelligence, this will take me 15 minutes to identify. Thankfully, throughout this run, we've been collecting scrolls. These are randomized every single run, and finding specific scrolls, or at least finding the correct magic words for them, will make or break a run in the late game, as you'll see later. For now, I use a scroll of Identify to skip the 15-minute wait and learn this is an amulet of life saving. If we die with it equipped, it'll bring us back to 50 HP, then break. Sadly, it's also cursed. But thankfully, we have a scroll of Remove Curse, which we quickly use and equip our new necklace. With that, all that's left is to use the key to raid the goblin treasury, steal their strength potions, which normally would be dangerous, but thankfully, we can do all of this and then walk straight past the guards, leaving the temple. We rush through the next floor in terror, not wanting to invoke those big bovine thighs, and make short work of floor 9, stopping to kill a few slimes, picking up a faceplate that gives +5 melee, and finding one of the most important scrolls in the game, a scroll of repair. Yes! Okay, Joik Yak is repair this run. Even if it sounds like I was giving someone head, just trust me. This scroll will buff and repair one piece of equipment, which doesn't sound super important because up until now, none of our runs have lasted long enough for our gear to break. But let me tell you, this is game changing. Especially if we can find a feather, some blank scrolls, and start mass producing these babies. For now though, we repair our flail, dodge a boulder, and prove we never learned from our mistakes by defacing a grave, summoning a ghost who almost kills us, and honestly the only reason we survive is because we were lucky enough to find the exit, which leads us directly into the Sand Labyrinth. If you thought Florida was scary, welcome to Nevada. This fresh hell is filled with boiling hot lava, which is hiding packs of flaming slime, scorpions who can endlessly chain paralyze you, and of course, sickly bugmen who will hunt you down for sport. If that wasn't bad enough, the labyrinth is actually designed to be just like a Vegas casino, an endless sprawling mess of dead ends where you'll slowly starve to death looking for an exit. We fight our way through the first floors and almost die to multiple scorpions, checking every now and then to see if we manage to identify this gem or not. And guys, after 10 minutes of waiting, it's fucking worth 1 gold. Damn you, Barony. As we enter the next floor, one of the worst possible things happens. That's right, the Minotaur is back. On any other floor, this is bad. In a maze, this is horrifying. We fight our way through waves of bugs and scorpions, and right as the beast is about to spawn, we thankfully sneak to the next stage. This might sound like we're making amazing progress, but in reality, we're quickly becoming underleveled thanks to all these Minotaur floors. Enemies are becoming more and more difficult to take down, but hope is not lost. We find a red orb on this floor locked behind a golden door. If we manage to collect this orb and carry it 10 floors, we can use this to make our boss fight somewhat easier. We spend nearly 20 minutes fighting and almost dying to bugmen, lava, slimes in search of the key. Almost out of food, but full of blood and experience, we are about to give up. But eventually we find the gold key. Collecting the red orb, we make our way through the next few floors, grinding up exoskeletons of many innocent bugs and drinking their blood. We've managed to make up quite a few levels, which will mean absolutely nothing as it's time to enter the ruins. Fellas, if the gnomish mines are my personal Vietnam, then the ruins are why I drink myself to sleep. The ruins are filled with gnomish thieves. They'll surround you, pin you down, and begin ripping your organs out to sell to the local bugbears. And even if you manage to kill 1 or 2 of these little freaks, they drop bear traps and their own form of cruel chemical weapons for you to step in. All in all, it's not a good time. I decide to vandalize a nearby tent to raise my cortisol levels, and I'm jump scared. Oh shit! How many? Why'd you having a little orgy in there? This bushel of gnomes puts the fear of God in me. I begin playing incredibly cautiously, picking off 1 bugbear at a time, using booby traps, ignite, and other spells where I can. But it's clear I've fallen behind and I'm being surrounded by enemies on all sides. Those creepy little monsters push me onto a spike trap and I'm on absolutely no health. Heck, I don't even own shoes. But when I stop to wash my hands in a sacred fountain, several pieces of my gear are blessed, meaning they now have higher defense and damage. We move on to the next floor, hoping to continue catching up on experience, but sadly, the cow is back. Forced to flee with almost 0 XP, we make our way to the next floor, but I am surrounded immediately, and like the scared little boy I am, I flee to floor 19. This is our last chance to level up before we take on the Baron. We fight our way through the bugbears, managing to find a second amulet of revival and a crystal bow, which even with my low range skill is quite effective on gnomes because their skulls tend to be quite soft. All in all, our final floor goes quite well, gaining a few levels, but more importantly, we find a scroll of enchant weapon, one of the few ways to bless your main hand. This is the same as gluing nails to the end of your gun before you pistol whip them. It's unorthodox, but damn does it work. Entering the next floor, the Baron greets us lovingly.
Welcome to your doom.
Yeah, it's good to be here, man. I really appreciate that. We drop off our red orb, which will buff our strength and constitution. We also swap our ring of warning for a ring of magic resistance. This might seem strong, but truthfully at our level, this is sort of like putting on a puffer jacket before someone throws a brick at you. Either way, we step into the throne room. Immediately, the Baron lets out a burst of lightning bolt. We sidestep it and begin pressuring him with arrows, which does absolutely nothing, so we are forced to rush in, causing him to summon a demon directly inside our asshole. I've had this charm monster stuff for ages. Here we go. Does it work? The answer, no. Okay, back to the arrows. Oh, and okay, it broke. While focusing on the demon, we're half healthed by a volley of lightning, and then another and another. While we do a lot of damage in melee, his demons and lightning are punishing us. And making it worse, I take a stray fireball, which burns me down to 1 health. It's at this point I realize the problem. None of my sapper mechanics are usable during the fight. There is nothing to booby trap, nothing to break, and even my grease won't work because the Baron is flying. Truly, this class is cursed. Much like this third amulet of revival I identified mid-fight. I drop another demon and move in to attack, but I take an entire load to my face, triggering my amulet of revival. I equip my second instantly and hit the Baron, taking him below half health, which means it's time for him to summon not just another demon, but also 3 imps. At this point, I can't get close without being bombarded. My second amulet is immediately broken, and in a last-ditch effort, I equip the cursed version. If I can just focus on the Baron, I can still win this. I'm strafing, I'm dodging, I'm dead. No! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Barony. Spending 3 hours grinding only to die to a decrepit old man with a weaponized pacemaker. This failure was brutal, but I've seen a light at the end of the tunnel. I can win if I just had a few more levels, maybe a single health potion. Undeterred, we stand up and charge forward into what can only be described as 13 hours of cock and ball torture. Unlucky, brutal run after brutal run begins to grind our spirit to nothingness, and none of them are my fault. Oh, come on. Most of our attempts barely make it out of the mines, and even when I do catch a break, like managing to recruit an entire team of humans, everything quickly goes wrong. Let's blow this fucker sky high. Oh god, no, my team are on fire! Through all of this suffering, we do learn something though. Particularly, the branch bow I mentioned earlier from the jungle temple is so broken that I am tempted to not even show it to you, to avoid the devs somehow realizing how unbalanced they've made this game and patching it. If I thought bear traps were horrifying, this bow is something else. Not only does it slow and poison, but it also does that as an AoE that chunks the entire group of enemies for mass damage. Watch as this bushel of gnomes are decimated before your very eyes, even with my ranged barely being leveled at this point. Despite this, every run ends in disappointing failure, major setbacks, and we're unable to reach our former glory. Is Timecodes doomed to never rule this land as a tyrannical, evil dictator? Unsure, we press on, so defeated that at this point I'm not even bothering to record my microphone. Until Run 19. Starting out like any other run, we make our way through the first few floors. Lucky enough to have our gear blessed by a fountain, but not so lucky because we weren't holding our mace at the time. So rather than a blessed weapon, we get blessed grease balls. Thank you, Barony. We managed to recruit a small team of humans from a local settlement and pucker my sphincter as a boulder nearly takes us all out immediately. Holy crap, I need to take a break after that. Several floors later, we're breezing through even the swamps. Our team and I are quite over-leveled, so I decide to pull a lever because sadly, Timecodes still can't read. Jesus, I wish someone had warned me about that. This proves to be a fantastic idea. I open the treasure chest these spiders were guarding to find 5 scrolls, and more importantly, a feather. Ladies and gentlemen, this can only be compared to winning the lottery in real life, but better. I've turned my microphone back on. Monkey see scroll, neurons activate. These scrolls are a remove curse, summon food, random teleportation, and several blank scrolls, which we will eventually use the feather to turn into repair or bless if we can just figure out the magical words for them. If I lose this run now, I am throwing away my best chance. It's all or nothing. So I lean forward in my chair and head straight for the jungle temple. Here we grab a magic reflection cape, a pickaxe, and of course the branch bow. I'm very aware of our shortcomings in boss fights, so we begin leveling our ranged, using the goblins to tank the trolls and then murdering the weakened goblins, otherwise known as trickle-down economics. Over the next few floors, we decimate the remaining swamps, easily solve the puzzle required to collect the green orb thanks to our pickaxe, but punished for this, we find ourselves trapped by a mimic and are forced to watch as our allies die right before our very eyes. I try to be sad about this, but Wade is a furry and his bunny ears were actually blessed. Thank you for your sacrifice. I'll make sure to delete your browser history. We also find a ring of levitation which will allow us to fly over gaps and traps with ease, and inside a small general store near the end of the swamps, we buy several scrolls of summon monster, which we'll hold on for later. By the time we make it to the labyrinth, we are well and truly over-leveled, using our ring of levitation to safely pick off enemies from afar. This is going amazing, and with our mace skill leveling up so much, we're likely going to be able to destroy the... It broke. I guess it fell down the hole. I don't know if we can win. That's like 90% of my damage. We push on with a new and refreshed focus on ranged combat, and we take a small break to use our Ring of Might to solve this boulder puzzle on a secret floor. This rewards us with Jinny's braces. These magic-resistant gloves will never break, giving me a massive +4 armor and a key to surviving the Baron's taser. Everything is going perfect at this point, until floor 12, which is a Minotaur level. I try to rush to the exit, however the spawn door is locked. In my panic, I completely forget that my entire class is built around destroying furniture, which includes doors. Thankfully, after about 5 minutes, I somehow remember, and we make it to floor 13. Another minute? Fuck me. And the door's locked again. That's what? Losing 2 floors of experience isn't awful, but the consequences are immediate as bugmen surround me and take me down to incredibly low health. But thanks to our cowardly strategies, we push on and eventually return to the ruins. Now with a sporty little backpack to hold all of our scrolls we're hoarding. I'd love to pretend the ruins were difficult. I think it would make the video much more engaging, but I have to admit the branch bow destroys literally everything on the floor, and thanks to the Ring of Levitation, we're able to make it to a new secret level, the Mystic Library. We made it here in an earlier run as well, but due to the lack of polymorph potions, that ended with dozens of so-called enlightened intellectual scholars throwing spells and racial slurs at me. This time, I look like them, which means I recruit as many of them as I can and begin looting their magical treasures, including, that's right, a scroll of enchant armor and a scroll of repair. This is it. Everything I've been waiting for. I spend the next 10 to 15 minutes writing out my own scrolls. I bless and repair everything I can, taking myself from 16 AC to 24 and taking myself from 30% to 51% magic resistance. My dex jumps from 17 to 19 and I can now booby trap objects from literally miles away. Alright, is it all clear? Oh fuck, that's a demon! We exit the Mystic Library and see one of the most horrific massacres in history, forced to watch as our book-loving allies face real combat for the first time and are immediately murdered. It's so brutal in fact that even Dracula and several demons decide to make an appearance. Thankfully, everyone falls to my bow eventually. It takes hours to rummage through the corpses, but we find a blessed mace. It's not our flail, but this will do. And it does feel good to have a thick meaty rod in my hand again. Clearing the next few floors is so easy that I start to question whether or not I'm the bad guy. At this point, hundreds of gnomes have thrown their bodies at me with no success, and we leave the ruins, entering the Baron's throne room. We take our time and place down the green orb this time for a dex boost. It's now or never, a true fight, man to man. The only way I can become king is if I show everyone I defeated the Baron in fair combat. So I spam summoning scrolls and end up with 3 level 18 humans, 3 level 16 late game slimes, and a level 1 rat, and jump the old bastard before he can do anything. I think I have so many allies that the Baron is just confused about what to do. Fellas, if you haven't tried getting your friends together to beat off an old man, I strongly recommend it. Oh fuck, that felt good. This is a victory, but a short-lived one. I scurry out of the mines back to town only to find out the Magician's Guild has taken credit for my work. They murder my allies immediately and chase me into the sewers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pissed, which means it's time to kill the Magician's Guild, specifically the incestuous brother and sister leaders, Orpheus and Eurydice, who have now seized control and entered godhood. I polymorph myself and begin trading with the locals, buying up every health potion they have and every single scroll I can find. The true roguelike experience is doing 19 runs, not finding a single feather, and then suddenly finding 3. I managed to max out all of the blessings I can give my armor before they figure out who I am and chase me into the next zone, the Crystal Caves. This area is a sprawling dark mess of tunnels filled with boulder traps ready to run you over. We might be strong, but one wrong move and we'll easily be surrounded by bugmen, salamanders, or worse, cockatrices. These flying feathered bastards are strong against all of our damage types, so we'll have to avoid them at all cost. We enter the cave and immediately a slime blinds us, trips us, and we stumble directly into a boulder trap, which barely misses us. I puckered so hard I think I just pulled a muscle in my ass. While scary, we do progress through the caves fairly easily and of course cautiously until we hear it. That's it. That's the feather. That's the feathery fuck. And then we see it. I'm doing nothing to it. Just run. We do nothing to it. Before we know it, thanks to 2 Minotaur floors and our very reasonable fear of birds, we are forced into the final biome, the Clockwork Citadel. This can only be described as visiting Britain for the first time. Filled with drunken goatmen, pale, blood-sucking nobles, leather-bound, blood-covered freaks, even more cockatrices, and worst of all, there is no edible food here. Quickly, we find ourselves taking huge amounts of damage, and I realize my lead has somehow slipped through our fingers. Caught off guard by cockatrices around every corner, panicking, we begin to starve and realize we don't have any food left. What should be a cautious few floors preparing for our final conflict with magical gods has instead turned into a dead race against starvation. And like a fool, I entered the secret level in search of food, Bram's Castle, a fortress filled with the undead who famously don't keep a lot of food on them. Nevertheless, we bash our way through the first floor, literally starving as we fight skeletal knights and somehow max our mace skill. The only reprieve we get from our hunger are some small sips of water from the fountains inside, but it's not enough. We climb to the next floor and begin slaying a lord's concubines. Sadly, there is no food here except for some rotten cursed meat dropped by the enslaved ghouls. I can decurse it, but I can't fix the rotting stench. I rush forward, climbing the tower further. Any second now, I'll begin taking damage from starvation. Do I risk eating the rotting corpse of a ghoul I just beat to death? If I start vomiting from it, the run will end here, with just 2 floors until the final fight. Will I lose to a piece of rotten meat? I roll the dice. Holy crap, I survived it. Okay, we have to hurry. I need to kill this castle's boss in the Magician Guild on that one piece of meat. There's no way I get that lucky twice. I climb another flight of stairs. I'm faced with an old enemy, myself, but I'm not the same as I was earlier. I've come a long way and quickly destroy the poor imitation. One more floor and I'm immediately face to face with Bram, the vampire lord. I equip my magic reflection cloak and try to battle him at range, but quickly he closes the gap, destroys my cloak, and man to man, I beat him off with my thick rod. I take his cloak of levitation as my spoils, and with that, we only have 1 floor left before we reach the final boss. I'll need to take it slowly, carefully, get as much experience as I can, and prepare it's a Minotaur floor. Fuck! Rushing to the exit, we quickly enter the Magician's Guild's throne room. I prepare myself. This time, I'm alone. We drop our backpack, prepare our 4 health potions, equip our ring of magic resistance, and rather than equip our necklace of magic reflection, instead, we decide to keep our flame resistance on. We enter. Immediately, Orpheus and Eurydice appear. I loose an arrow into Orpheus. Okay, I can do damage. That's not bad. That's pretty good damage. Now I just have to avoid getting hit. Ow! We duck and weave, constantly circling around the arena. If we keep moving, we're safe, but we have to slow down to land our shots. I realize quickly trying to use my mace is pointless while Orpheus is alive. His sword is too fast and too punishing. As we slowly weaken him down, he teleports away and begins raining fire down. But thanks to our fire resistance amulet, it does next to nothing, allowing us to fill him with arrows. We trade blows for what feels like hours. I'm slowly being whittled down, taking hits as Eurydice slows me with her frost magic and Orpheus slams me with his sword. I'm forced to use all of my healing potions. But finally, okay, one down, that's 1. Okay, everyone calm down. I said calm down! With Orpheus down, Eurydice will be a piece of cake. I swap to a magic reflection amulet and line of sight her barrage of magic missiles. I'm safe here. Oh shit! Oh god, I forgot about you! These automatons seem harmless at first, but quickly I realize they're armed to the teeth. They charge me over and over as I mow them down, careful to continue to line of sight Eurydice's attacks. But we aren't looking good. Soon our hunger will set in. As I pause to take my shots, she's still managing to land her attacks. Eventually my magic reflection breaks completely. We have a lot of magic resistance, but one wrong move without a revival amulet will mean certain death. Oh crap, that was a lot of arrow damage. Constantly being forced to kite her automatons and keep moving to avoid her attacks, I can barely land my shots. Until finally, after a 30-minute long, brutal, unstoppable fight, she pauses to use her barrage. If this lands, I'm dead, but I decide to risk it. Stopping entirely, I turn, fire an arrow, and she goes down. Yes! Yes! Fine! Only 0.1% of players have beaten the game as the Gremlin Sapper. Oh my god. But our work isn't done there. We seize the Lich's power that lurks in the mines and use it to take control of the monsters, wage war against humanity, destroy those who oppose us until even the humans bear our banners. Long live Tanuk, damn it! If you enjoyed this, please like the video, consider subscribing, and comment long live Tanuk, because I love this game, man.